One more thing. We interviewed a few taxi drivers yesterday, and they said that 3 years is not enough time. What do you think? That because new technology is so expensive, how do you expect people to? I mean, this is more for the council, but what's your opinion?
I think it goes back to the point that I probably raised a few minutes ago. It's around making sure that we get enough support government-wise in terms of incentives and scrappage to make it. The people that it impacts on, say, if their livelihoods, is make sure that they get the incentives to switch. So, for example, if you look at some of the demographic around taxi drivers, you know, if they probably wouldn't want to, you know, borrow money because in terms of paying interest and loans, just because of the, you know, religious beliefs that don't. So that's a barrier. So we need to come up with some schemes and work with government to make sure that it's easy as possible for them to switch their vehicles, or make sure that, you know, that there's an element of reward for them to do that. You've got to get buy-in. You can't just, it's that carrot and stick again. You know, you can't use just blunt tools and say, well, you need to switch your vehicle, you're doing it. You need to make sure that they're all kind of part of the journey. And, you know, if you switch, you know, it makes, maybe you'll get incentives around usage around spots in terms of their charging or parking spots. You know, could you give them incentive over the other drivers over diesel taxis that they can pick up first? I don't know how that works. I mean, that could be one for the council, but it's those ideas that you've got to really incentivise people, and you've got to get people's buy-in, because if you don't, then it won't work.
But you've hit a really important problem there, because it's not just the taxis. So with buses, in Birmingham City Centre it's great. We've got not clean air zone, but we've got an area of a quality partnership where the buses have to be a certain level. So that means a bus company that's got buses that aren't at that level will take those buses somewhere else, and eventually you run out of somewhere else to take them. So it's the same with the taxis. A taxi driver might move somewhere else, but eventually they can't. So you have to think there is a problem brewing in terms of what you're going to do with these vehicles. As I'm saying, what's going to happen. At some point you can accommodate so much. I think it's worse in London, isn't it? Hasn't Sadiq Khan given them a year to do it?
Yeah.
So we could say to them, see what they do in London, but...
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, especially on buses, what they're doing, it's another thing that we need government support, is that some operators, such as National Expresses, they've been doing some retrofit of engines, so they've been looking at how they can use kind of some interim technology to kind of put filters and actually do some real kind of engineering about how they can change, you know, like particle traps. But there's a bit of a blocker in the system, because this accreditation scheme hasn't been kind of approved yet, and we really need that. So it's another thing about it, we really need government action to kind of kick in really quick, really, to help us then, because then it buys us a bit of time. So then that allows us to manage where buses goes, and then eventually we can set a target where we want to try and, I suppose, make sure that some of our buses are more ULEZ, so ultra low emission vehicles, and also trialling new things around. You know, we're trying some electric stuff, but hydrogen could be one way we go forward, but it's expensive, so we need to make sure that, you know, we try and bring the cost down.
Again, I think it as well is looking at what's the problem you're trying to solve. So one of the things we know we can do, we can say, as I've said, let's put environmentally friendly vehicles in, let's make them as energy efficient as possible. Okay, that's good. What the bus company would say to us is, yes, but there's still congestion. So actually, would it be better to have a less energy efficient bus that wasn't congested? Does that create less pollution than an energy efficient bus that is congested? So that's an interesting area to think about and have a look at, because, you know, what problem are you trying to solve? So let's say we get all of these buses energy efficient, but they're still sitting in the city centre.
It's the kind of law of unintended consequences. You solve one problem. So if you look at the traditional, you know, why diesels were encouraged, they're more CO2 efficient and they put less CO2 out, but actually they put more particulates and NO2. And then it's just a balance of, you know, it's research and evidence, so it's sometimes you can fix one problem.
Have you had a look at the stuff for National Clean Air Day next week?
I saw something on that.
Thursday. Yeah, there's some quite good resources and stuff out. And I was saying to you, I saw a film yesterday that Birmingham City Council have made with the Children's Hospital, and I think it's being released today, so I will send the link to some of it, but it will be on the website. And it's one of the doctors in Children's Hospital on a baby's lungs, and it's just, God, it scared the life out of me. So I think the other thing you've got is society's change as well, attitudes will change and things like this, and maybe you won't want to be seen as getting a taxi that is fundamental. Like I think that there's a real emotive thing with this as well.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of clean air isn't a new thing, because there was a Clean Air Act in the 50s, and that's where they banned kind of certain types of coal for power because it created smog. And it was like it's 1952, the big smog of London, which killed thousands of people, literally killed thousands of people because the air was that bad. So there is a lot of precedent, so it's not a new thing. So maybe you could look about what they did back then.
Yeah. Or even think about the law on smoking. That was seen as it's one of those health effects that you don't see visibly straight away, but it is one that we know about. So, something's got to happen legislatively.
And also
change
what they used, the tool around social demarketing, which is kind of a public policy tool, was what the health industry used around smoking. That was, policy for like 25 years. Now, it's really, it's regressive in terms of what it did, but it needed, it's what they did, and it made some massive impact.
For Clean Air Day next week, you'll start seeing that coming out now, that message, and people that do drive diesel cars will not be regarded as doing the right thing anymore. It's that we will have a change in attitudes. But I will send the links if you can't find it.
Thank you.
All right.
Just one quick question. You said that the buses, like there's an area where the buses have to be friendly. Could you maybe tell us which area that is?
It's the core city centre area, so as you come into the inner ring road, if you like, it's that core city centre area.
Okay. Do you maybe know if that's the area, the clean air zone?
Yeah, it'd broadly the same. The clean air zones, they're still doing a lot of technical work, so it's still not a kind of concrete kind of area, but it's a very similar area that they'll operate really. So it's kind of in effect that the Statute Quality Partnership Scheme, which has been operating for a few years, has kind of got a standard at maybe Euro 3 or 4, but now it will go to like Euro 6, which is what the clean air zone. So it's kind of synergising, so building on what they've already done, but taking it a bit further.
And you said in the beginning that the private cars won't be affected in the beginning, but if you're trying...
No, it's not that we're trying, it's that they're doing a lot of studies, so they're looking at, if they just focus on, say, freight buses and then taxis, is what the impact would be. Does it actually meet the kind of legislative target they need to? So what they're looking at is some scenarios, if they did look at diesel cars, would then that have a greater impact? But they're not deciding, so they're still looking at that. So that may or may not change, but it would be kind of decision based on evidence to do that.